Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare. Gopi Jana Balava Giri Bharadhare. Gopi Jana Balava Giri Bharadhare. Yashodanandana Raja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Raja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachare. Yamuna Tira Vanachare. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare. Gopi Jana Balava Giri Bharadhare. Gopi Jana Balava Giri Bharadhare. Yashodanandana Raja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Raja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachare. Yamuna Tira Vanachare. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare. Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Vishnupad, Paramahans, Parivajak Chayas, Srimad, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki, ISKCON's founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki, Shri Radha Radhanath Ki, Shri Giri Govardhan Ki, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki, Sankirtan Yagya Ki, Go Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 19, verse 36. Chapter is titled King Prithu's 100 Horse Sacrifices. Abir Indropasam Srishtai Pakandaya Haribir Janam Hriyamanam Vichakshvainam Yas Te Yagya Drog Ashva Mut Abir Indro Pasam Srishtai Pakandayar Haribir Janam Hriyamanam Vichakshvainam Yaste Yagya Drug Ashvamut Abir Indro Pasam Srishtai Pakandayar Haribir Janam Hriyamanam Vichakshvainam Yaste Yagya Drug Ashvamut Abir Indro Prasam Srishtai Pakandayar Haribir Janam Hriyamanam Vichakshvainam Yaste Yagya Drug Ashvamut Bhakti Haribhyajanam Priyamanam Vichakshvainam Yastaya Gurdrug Ashvamot Abhyarindropasam Srishtai Bhakti Haribhyajanam Priyamanam Vichakshvainam Yastaya Gurdrug Ashvamot by these Indra Upasamsrishtai, created by the King of Heaven, Indra. Pakandai, sinful activities. Haribe, very attractive to the heart. Janam, the people in general. Priyamanam, being carried away. Vichakshva, just see. Enam, these. Ya, one who. Te, your. Yagyadruk, creating a disturbance in the performance of the sacrifice. Ashvamot, who stole the horse. Translation: just see how Indra, the king of heaven, was creating a disturbance in the midst of the sacrifice by stealing the sacrificial horse. These attractive, sinful activities he has introduced will be carried out by the people in general. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. As stated in Bhagavad Gita chapter 3 verse 21, Yad yadacharati shreshtas tattadeve tarojana sayat pramanam kurute lokastad anuvartate. Whatever action is performed by a great man, common men follow in his footsteps. And whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. For his own sense gratification, King Indra thought to defeat Maharaj Prithu in the performance of 100 horse sacrifices. Consequently, he stole the horse and hid himself amid so many irreligious personalities, taking on the false guise of a sannyasi. Such activities are attractive to the people in general, therefore they are dangerous. Lord Brahma thought that instead of allowing Indra to further introduce such irreligious systems, it would be better to stop the sacrifice. A similar stance was taken by Lord Buddha when people were overly engrossed in the animal sacrifices recommended by Vedic instructions. Lord Buddha had to introduce the religion of non-violence by contradicting the Vedic sacrificial instructions. Actually, in the sacrifices, the slaughtered animals were given a new life, but people without such powers were taking advantage of such Vedic rituals and unnecessarily killing poor animals. Therefore, Lord Buddha had to deny the authority of the Vedas for the time being. One should not perform sacrifices that will induce reversed orders. It is better to stop such sacrifices. As we have repeatedly explained, due to a lack of qualified Brahminical priests in Kali Yuga, it is not possible to perform the ritualistic ceremonies recommended in the Vedas. Consequently, the Shastras instruct us to perform the Sankirtan Yajna. By the Sankirtan sacrifice, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his form of Lord Caitanya, will be satisfied and worshipped. The entire purpose of performing sacrifices is to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. Lord Vishnu, or Lord Krishna, is present in his form of Lord Caitanya. Therefore, people who are intelligent should try to satisfy him by performing Sankirtan Yajna. This is the easiest way to satisfy Lord Vishnu in this age. People should take advantage of the injunctions in different Shastras concerning sacrifices in this age, and not create unnecessary disturbances during the sinful age of Kali. In Kali Yuga, men all over the world are very expert in opening slaughterhouses for killing animals which they eat. If the old ritualistic ceremonies were observed, people would be encouraged to kill more and more animals. In Calcutta, there are many butcher shops which keep a deity of the goddess Kali, and animal eaters think it proper to purchase animal flesh from such shops in hope that they're eating the remnants of food offered to goddess Kali. They do not know that goddess Kali never accepts non-vegetarian food, because she is the chaste wife of Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is also a great Vaishnav and never eats non-vegetarian food. And the goddess Kali accepts the remnants of food left by Lord Shiva. Therefore, there is no possibility of her eating flesh or fish. Such offerings are accepted by the associates of goddess Kali, known as Bhutas, Pishachas, and Rakshasas. And those who take the prasad of goddess Kali in the shape of flesh or fish are not actually taking the prasad left by goddess Kali, but the food left by the Bhutas and Pishachas. Abir Indro Pasamshrishtai Pakandaya Haribir Janam Hriyamanam Vichakshvainam Yaste Yagya Drog Ashva Mut. Just see how Indra, the king of heaven, was creating a disturbance in the midst of the sacrifice by stealing the sacrificial horse. These attractive, sinful activities he has introduced will be carried out by the people in general. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschitya Dejatarane Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Yes, so this is Lord Brahma speaking and lamenting about, or commenting at least, about the activities Lord Indra has been performing over the last however long this series of sacrifices has been going on. Not a long time, some days or something like that. Yes, he's concerned, or lamenting even, one could say, but he's certainly very concerned because he can see that the people in general are on lower levels of different types of lower levels, and the people in general are very easily influenced, even by things which are just not very useful or helpful, or even not very intelligent, things which even sometimes are just stupid. Srila Prabhupada told the story of seeing one old silent movie, Charlie Chaplin or someone of that, maybe it was him or someone like that, and the movie was about how there was a part in which the main character, let us not say hero, but the main character was at a ballroom dance where everyone is in very formal attire, yes, all very formal attire, but the main character, somehow or other, his shirt got torn somewhat in the back, and seeing that somehow, which of course looked strange, like something is wrong, but for some reason he decided to tear it further up the back, so it was really torn up the back. And he went out and he was dancing, like everything is fine, and actually he's very happy. And so the other young men got the idea that we should do this too, because people will be impressed. They're impressed with him, and he's very dancing in very blissful ways. And maybe the young ladies will think that we're very, attractive, suitable young men. So there was this whole thing, the young men tearing their shirts up the back. Hare Krishna. And this is stupid. It's just simply stupid. And Prabhupada commented on that. A number of times he referred to that just see what the people in general will do. They're so prone to follow Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Shri Giri Govardhan Shri Caitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. They're so prone to follow some sort of example if they think somehow or other, if they think that it's going to help them in their material lives. So even in our youth, in our early youth, or say early youth or childhood, and so on, men kept short hair, and I never saw a single male until about 1964 or late 63, something like that, who had anything other than short hair. And even it was quite fashionable to have what they call a crew cut, which means in the military they get the soldiers to cut their hair very short, not quite like a shaved head, but very, very short. So that was also quite fashionable. But then suddenly when the famous Beatles came out, then long hair started to become the fashion with the young men, and it became longer and longer and longer and more sort of prevalent, that to the point that it was almost like, certainly in certain circles it was, that if you had short hair, it was considered there was something wrong with you. You were just, irrelevant. Yes, not a person of today, some relic from the distant past. So, yes, but it's kind of stupid. Yes. I remember, don't mind me mentioning this, in my surfing days, I also had long hair. In fact, I had very long hair. Yes, I mean, as long as any of you ladies, I would say, pretty much. And the thing is, as you're going out, you have to go through the waves to get out behind them where you can catch them when you're surfing. But I found out that as you go through the waves and they sort of crash over you, your long hair comes over your face. And it was very inconvenient. And I almost reached the point of tying my hair back, but then I gave up surfing and became a Hare Krishna. And now you generally don't have to worry about it too much. So, but yes, it was, and I realized this is stupid, because every time I went through a wave, every time my hair was all over the place. So it was stupid. Anyway, ladies, don't worry, I'm not saying you're stupid. You're great, great devotees, but yeah, don't try it if you're going to surf. So, yes, so people, they follow people who they consider or who seem to be more prominent, more attractive, and that sort of thing. And Lord Indra, he's like that. He's extremely wealthy. And he has, even though he's also a devotee, he's definitely a devotee, at least part of him is a devotee, but there's another side to his character, which is that he is very prone to sense gratification, and even quite like sort of strong sense gratification. There have been a number of incidents where he has interfered with the wives of other sort of great or great-ish personalities, and got into just really unfortunate situations. And that's why on his body he has 1,000 eyes. We will not get into how that happened, but that's how it happened. That's how it happened. And it's like a permanent embarrassment, because in the heavenly planets the weather is so good, the men, it seems, don't wear shirts much. Maybe some chadar or some sort of light cloth or something like that, but usually their chests and backs are visible to quite some degree, and it's very embarrassing for him. So, yes, but of course there was one time when it was not a problem, when it was actually good, described in Caitanya Bhagavat, how Lord Caitanya and Lord Nityananda, particularly Lord Nityananda, but both of them delivered Jagai and Madai. And it was such an extraordinary, in the extreme type of situation, that such people could be delivered and become devotees and give up their sinful lives, which they were just great. I mean, they really tried to enjoy sense gratification, and even in all sorts of extreme ways. But then suddenly they became pure devotees. And when, as the demigods, of course, were watching, they're always watching, they're watching right now. But when the demigods, headed by Lord Yamaraj, saw the transformation of Jagai and Madai, then they were just so overwhelmed. It was just so unbelievable. You know, we've probably been in situations which were just so astonishing. We were like practically stunned. And that's what happened to them. And then a kirtan started. A kirtan started in which they say prominent, there were different mantras, but prominent was a mantra which goes Jagai, Madai, Jai Nitai. Jagai, Madai, Jai Nitai. That was one of the mantras that they were chanting. And they were dancing. Caitanya Bhagavat, I forget the chapter, but it's in Madhya Lila, must be somewhere there. And they were just so completely overwhelmed. They were just dancing uncontrollably, just wildly. And crying tears of ecstasy, seeing this, what they considered to be something that would have been completely out of the question, totally impossible, that it would never have been possible to conceive of this happening, but it happened. And so amongst the demigods dancing and chanting and crying in ecstasy was Lord Indra. And he was in such ecstasy. Tears were pouring from his 1,000 eyes. And for one time, he felt happy. I'm glad I have these 1,000 eyes, because if I didn't, I wouldn't be able to cry and express my just total ecstasy as much as I would like to. Just like you can say, Srila Rupa Goswami particularly says that when I hear the two syllables Krishna, then they just it's so wonderful and so overwhelming that I wish I had 100 tongues, 1,000 ears. How can I relish the nectar of these transcendental holy names adequately, do them justice with one tongue and two ears? So Lord Indra was in that sort of situation himself, but he was happy for once, having what was otherwise some really very extreme embarrassment. So yes, so this is the point, I mean, first point at least, that Prabhupada explores is how common people follow the great people or the people they consider to be great. And there's a verse in the second canto which, let me just try and find, I don't know if I'll be able to, but it's the same point. Yeah, that's it. Swavid vara hostra karai samstuta purusha pasho nayat karana patopeta jatu nama gadagraja, that people who are like hogs, dogs, camels, and asses praise those men who do not chant, who never listen to the transcendental pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna, the deliverer from evils. And Prabhupada makes the point that these people, they're like dogs, hogs, camels, and asses. Dogs, because they always bark at people, they're always offensive and aggressive, even to people who are nice, who mean no harm and may actually be very nice people. And the hogs, who eat anything, they eat anything, even stool. The camels who are very happy if they can chew on some thorns which cut their mouths, and then they drink the blood, their own blood, and they think, oh, this is so tasty. Yes. And the asses who are just asses. Yeah. So these people, they praise those men who never listen to the transcendental pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna, but they praise the men or the people who are big dogs, big hogs, big camels, big asses, who are just more into those particular activities that the animals are attracted to. So the very successful dogs, very successful hogs, etc., those people who are like little dogs and hogs, they become followers of the big dogs and hogs. That's part of living entities' nature, and of course it's very prominent amongst the human beings. So Srila Prabhupada is talking about that here, and it's a very important point. Who are we going to follow? And we should be careful who we follow, very careful. And Prabhupada gives the example, well, the point is that Indra is doing like this. He's adopted the garb of sannyasis, but sannyasis who are not sannyasis, just they're dressed as such people, and we see that you get people like that. Even in Johannesburg, I don't know if I should mention it, but there's one boy who's mentally retarded. Although, he's got inclinations to Krishna consciousness, but, he's just not in good shape psychologically. But he wears saffron because he decided he wanted to wear saffron because, it's sort of cool to wear saffron, and people think you're cool. So he wears saffron. So anyway, he is a devotee actually on a certain level. But this happens, and you see it in India. Well, Prabhupada talks about the man who was living in the same area as he was when he was a child, and the man in, either the morning or the later part of the day, he would dress, when people were going past, a lot of people, he would dress as a sannyasi and beg, because this is the tradition in India that people donate even to this day to people who are wearing saffron, that in the afternoon or the other part of the day, he would wear white or just wear whatever, and he had a job of some very simple sort, like rubbish remover or something. Haribol, what can you say? Yes. So Lord Buddha, Prabhupada Prabhupada mentions how Lord Brahma was thinking, we got to stop this whole sacrifice, even though actually the sacrifice itself is being done very nicely for a good cause, but there's this other side to the whole situation, which is Lord Indra dressing up like that, which people are going to follow, unqualified people, and it's going to create some chaos in society. So he thought, just stop it. Not that what Maharaj Prithu was doing was wrong. It wasn't wrong. It was good. He was fully qualified. He's actually a type of incarnation of the Lord. But there was this other side which became prominent. And Prabhupada mentions here about how Lord Buddha had to introduce non-violence, like strict vegetarianism, just to save the lives of the animals who otherwise were just being killed wholesale, on the basis that supposedly they were being sacrificed to Kali, and the people were then eating their flesh, which was Kali Prasad, but it wasn't. And it was going on such a scale, it seems even on a bigger scale than, proportionately, than meat eating is going on today. It was like universal. It was universal. So therefore he felt he had to just stop the whole thing. Not that animal sacrifices, when they are done properly by qualified people, are bad. They're not bad, they're good. But under the circumstances, that type of sacrifice was unsuitable, yes. So Prabhupada says that Buddha had to deny the authority of the Vedas very cleverly, very intelligently, with extremely intelligent arguments, so that the people thought, oh yes, it's actually right. We should give up the Vedas, and particularly this practice from the Vedas. But it was just for the time being. And Prabhupada says one should not perform sacrifices that will induce reversed orders. It is better to stop such sacrifices, even if they're under proper, suitable circumstances, they're actually not bad, or they're actually good. Yes. So he thought that instead of allowing Indra to further introduce such irreligious systems, better to stop the sacrifice. So then Prabhupada goes on to make the point in the later second half of the purport. The well-known Prabhupada says, as we have repeatedly explained, due to the lack of qualified Brahmins in Kali Yuga, it's not possible to perform the ritualistic ceremonies recommended in the Vedas for other times. So, but the principle of sacrifice has to be respected and acknowledged and applied. Sacrifice has to be performed. But what sort of sacrifice? Only the Sankirtan Yajna. Any other sacrifice will, at best, will not be effective or helpful. And like in this case, the animal sacrifices will be extremely detrimental. Like taking, Prabhupada says that the meat, etc., offered to Kali is not actually prasad, but it's just food left by ghosts and hobgoblins. They're the ones who partake when such offerings are made. So the Sankirtan Yajna is the only yajna worth following. Everything, any other attempt at yajna will either have no real effect or even a detrimental effect. Or like in that case, Kali and all that, it'll be extremely detrimental effect, extremely detrimental. So of course a very interesting point, and it's a point of, well, discussion, you could say, or controversy, even in certain circles, is should we, as, aspiring devotees of Lord Krishna and followers of Gaudiya Vaishnavism and followers of Srila Prabhupada, should we do anything other than Sankirtan Yajna? Like, and I mean specifically, that it happens that sometimes some devotees at some programs, they do some type of fire sacrifice. Interesting question. Prabhupada, when he was opening the Krishna Balaram temple, in order to sort of appease the local people who are very attached to all these rituals, etc., etc., so he hired some of the top Brahmins of the Vrindavan area and had them do a whole series of fire sacrifices, just to appease and please those local people. But Prabhupada made the comment quite clearly that actually there was no need for that, and actually it would have been in fact sufficient to just have Harinam and the chanting of the holy names, Kirtan. That would have been sufficient. Not just sufficient, it would have been glorious and wonderful and sanctified the whole event in the most wonderful way. Yes. So therefore there's some controversy amongst some ISKCON devotees. Should we do those yajnas at all? And it's not a bad question. And the answer to the question, as far as I can see at least, is that if we do them, if there appears to be a need in the sense of whoever, we're doing the program with, if there appears to be a need, it may be okay as long as there's plenty of Sankirtan and the mantras which are chanted are just Vaishnav mantras and so on like that. Yes. Yes, and of course Prabhupada himself performed fire yajnas at initiations, marriage ceremonies when he performed them. So, there's a place for those things to some degree, even just by the example of Prabhupada. But otherwise, really, the best thing is to focus on the Sankirtan Yajna. It'll be the most effective and the most beneficial for the performers and for everyone. And therefore Prabhupada refers to the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam that Yagyai Sankirtana Prayer Yajanti Hi Sumedhasa, that the incarnation of this age comes and performs and establishes Sankirtan Yajna, and he'll be followed by people who are Sumedhasa. Sumedhasa. Medhasa means intelligent, and Su is a prefix of emphasis, like Suswagatam. Swagatam means welcome. Suswagatam means very welcome. Oh, it's wonderful, like that. So Sumetasa means the most intelligent people. Yes. Yes, so, and Prabhupada says, therefore people who are intelligent should try to satisfy Lord Caitanya, the incarnation for this age, by performing Sankirtan Yajna. And it's just the easiest way to satisfy Lord Vishnu, who is the recipient of whatever sacrifices that were performed through the ages. But in this age, it's the easiest way to satisfy him, and it will satisfy him the most. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Any comment, question? Words of wisdom? Yes, Mataji. Loud and clear, please. Yes. Well, chanting the holy names gives much more benefit. And therefore, when we do a fire sacrifice, I mean times like when Prabhupada did, like initiations, weddings, then we utilize Vaishnav or Krishna conscious mantras, and everyone, it's done responsively, at least should be done or is meant to be done responsively, and then it's a form of Sankirtan. Although some people, particularly people who are from the more ritualistic backgrounds, may think they're just mantras and the main thing is the fire. But actually the mantras are the main thing. Yeah. Although, not that the fire is unimportant, the fire offering ghee into the mouth of the Supreme Lord, it's definitely of importance spiritually, but the mantras, they're part of the Sankirtan Yajna. So when people, do yajnas that to other deities, and they chant mantras to the demigods, there's no value. Yes, loud and clear, please. Yes. Well, the thing is that Indra, even though he's being, as you say, mischievous or worse, aggressive, something like that. But the thing is, despite all of that, he's a great personality. He's even, sort of like a great devotee or a very important devotee. So to not offend, well, you could say, to not offend an important devotee is an important consideration, at least. Because it's this kind of subtle situation that's there, but he was becoming too disturbed. So sometimes when devotees are doing something, Krishna conscious, like trying to distribute Srila Prabhupada's books, some people, devotees, struggle to do that. And it's just because of their states of mind, they find it extremely difficult. So rather than just saying, well, look, carry on because it's the best thing, sometimes we have to reallocate some other service to them because it's reached a point where they're just too disturbed. I've seen that sort of thing happen. Yeah. Then in some cases later they may be able to do it when they've made a bit more progress. So that was a consideration, not to disturb Indra too much, because it's not proper to disturb a devotee too much, even if, it's sort of a mixed situation. That's one thing. And of course the idea of minimizing or trying to reduce the likelihood that people will follow him and do similar things. I mean, it's already reached a certain point, but it could go further. It could go further that dressing as a sannyasi could become just a normal thing. So therefore, it's already reached a point, but let's not reach it. Let's not let it reach another point. Like I'm sure you've met in India, and even here, Mr. and Mrs. Swami, Goswami, Gokulendra Prabhu, many years ago, received an invitation to some program with Mr. and Mrs. Swami. Yeah. And I've even met, in Varshana I met once, a Mr. Brahmachari, householder, Mr. Brahmachari. It's connected. It's part of that phenomenon. So what would you say? Greater reward and more realization and some more detachment, because in a certain sense, there'll always be another chance. Not always, but yeah, that's nice. That's right. Yeah. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.